Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I would like to show y'all how to wire wrap an undrilled quartz crystal. Could be amethyst, could be citrine, could be whatever you like, but something that forms in a natural crystalline structure that has not had anything glued or drilled, like glued to it or drilled through. So let's get started. Everybody. So here we have our materials. I'm going to start with talking about my quartz crystals and where I get them. Here we have some that have been tumbled and some that have not been tumbled. I prefer to get my quartz crystals from merchants at like gem and mineral shows because then I can like pick them out. These were actually given to me by one of my friends here on YouTube, and then these I actually purchased from Amazon, and there'll be links to in the video description to where you can buy some of your own, like vendors that I recommend. We also have some 18 gauge and some 26 gauge, or thick and thin, as I'll be calling them interchangeably, wire from Parawire. This is dead soft. It's copper core that's been plated and then covered with an enamel. And then for our tools, like a pen or a knitting needle or a ring, like a wire mandrel or just something round. Wire snips, nylon jaw pliers, round nose pliers, and bent nose pliers. So to get started, whenever I'm like, some of them are quite long and thin, and just very straight sided, especially if they've been tumbled. There's not a whole lot there that the wire will be able to grip to. This one though does have a nice little notch right there that would give us something that would keep it from just slipping straight out. This one has a very nice form to it, and it's actually got a point on both ends. So like, this is something that I would actually be more interested in wrapping around the center. And also, there's nothing wrong with using a touch of E6000 or a bit of epoxy to really lock it in. And again, there'll be links down in the video description where for the, if you do decide to go the gluing route, which glues and adhesives I would recommend for this, things that have worked over the years for me. My favorite to wire wrap with no glues or anything are the ones that are a little bit wider at the base than they are at the point. And my reasoning for this is I really do enjoy getting to leave the point just bare and open. Like, I don't want to have to put a bunch of like wires around the very tip of it to keep it from sliding out, which is something that I'll probably end up having to do for this one unless I go the glue route. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and use one of these. Now, I am going to be doing future tutorials showing some different methods for wrapping crystals that might otherwise be kind of difficult, like especially this one. It's very tip heavy. But so stay tuned. If you'd like to get updated on when those videos come out, please follow me on Facebook or subscribe to me here on YouTube. Again, links down in the video description. So I'm going to set those lovely little ladies off to the side. And now I'm going to pull off about, maybe 12 to 14 inches of the 18 gauge, or our thicker wire. And I'm going to do 2 lengths of that. You could use a 20 gauge, but I like the nice substantial feel of the 18 gauge. It holds up to abuse a little better. And now I'm also going to pull off 2 full arm spans. Here's 1 and 2 full arm spans of this 26 gauge wire. I hate having to add more wire in. It drives me nuts. So to avoid that, I just pull off a lot of it to start with. And now I'm lining, off camera, lining up the 2 loose ends of it and then finding the center point. Just like that. And I'm going to start on this one with the bail. And for this, for making the bail, I'm just going to pick one of the wires, and I'm going to come to about the halfway point on this wire, and I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and I bet I could maybe zoom in a bit. if I stay good, I'm going to apologize in advance for when I wander off camera, because y'all know me. I do that. I don't mean to, but I do. So I've got 5 rotations around the wire. And I'm actually going to bring it a little more than halfway, because we're going to do a bale that's about 1.5 inches long. But I still want it to be relatively centered up. So now I'm going to wrap 1, 2 rotations. See, I already went off camera. I'd hate to break my promise. And then I'm figure 8ing through. So there's 1, 2, and 1, 2. And you can see how this one's exiting the back side. I'm going to wrap around to the front. 1, 2. And then it's exiting to the back side, so I'm going to wrap around to the front. And 1, 2. And from here, we can actually take it and kind of bend these guys apart. I'd like a very dramatic, like, sweep. Almost like a mermaid tail. So there's 1, 2, and 1, 2. And we're just going to keep doing this weave. 1, 2. And this uses up quite a bit of wire, but I think that's okay. It makes it so pretty. 1, 2. And again, making sure to keep, and the reason this is called a figure 8 weave is you can kind of see it's figure 8ing. So this is the bottom loop of the number 8. And whoop, here's the top loop of the figure 8. You also want to make sure that you're lining your wires up next to each other, not necessarily over each other. Like, see how that's messy? It happens. If it happens and you don't notice and you don't feel like going back and fixing it, it's not the end of the world. It's just sometimes, you know, for me, whenever I'm wire reeving, I really like to try to make it as tidy and neat and intricate and just like, oh my god, how did that happen? Like, just as perfect as possible. And it looks like something weird happened, like, right there. We'll deal, though. Yeah, it's like, oh, I tried to do it all perfect, and then it's like, oh, there's a mistake. Bah, who cares? Like, so, fake it till you make it, you guys. We've got this. And like in most of my videos, I am going to apologize for the loud background. It's either the air conditioner yelling at us because it's hot outside, or it'll be days like today where it's just a beautiful day, and so I have the windows open, so now it's traffic noises. Yay! And so you can see how that's kind of still just building. You want to try to keep the wires a little parallel, or not parallel, but like gradiating off in each direction. Symmetrical, that's the, words are hard. And we're just going to keep building this up. And I'm doing this real time with y'all because I want you to get an accurate idea of how long something like this can take. But also, please keep in mind, if this is your first project, this is my, like, well, I don't keep track of the number, like which project it is, but I've been making jewelry professionally for almost 10 years now. It'll actually be 10 years next month at the time of recording. So I've had lots and lots of practice, and that's what will help you get the hang of this, is practice. But fortunately, it's nothing if not repetitive. So you can see, like, that's how we came out. So now I'm going to kind of line them up a little bit and do a few rotations where the lines are parallel, kind of equidistant apart. And I'm not really keeping track of like the number of weaves that I've done. You can keep track and be like, okay, I went 4 rotations on this side and 4 rotations on this side. I'm just doing what I think looks nice. Okay. So there we have it. They're equidistant for a ways. And now I'm actually going to come through and I'm going to bring them down to where they cross each other. Now, even though they're crossing over here on the end, they're going to have a little bit of space in between them, and that's going to make it a lot easier for me to get my weaving wire around. And as I'm weaving, I'm holding the stem quite firmly, but I'm also like pinning it with my finger. So you can see I've wrapped this around, boop, and boop, and then you can actually flip your work if that makes it easier for you. I mean, do whatever it takes to get you a really nice, even, consistent result with the least amount of struggling. One, and for me, I don't much care for flipping my work. I get used to working in one direction. Look at this blister I have from wire wrapping, you guys. So here we go. There's 1 and 2. And I'm going to come up around the back side. And you can see it starts to kind of wiggle down, but that's okay. 1 and 2. I'm just pinning it with my fingers. There's 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And there's 1 and 2. Come around the back side, and 1 and 2. And 1 and 2. Again, just really squeezing that, keeping it nice and even. As best as what we can. All we can do is try our best. And 2. And you can see it's taking the decrease of the wires. And so that's why I like to shape them first. There's 1 and 2. But sometimes they decrease too much. But that just encourages it even more. Get those wires right next to each other as soon as possible. 1 and 2. And I'm really pinning it as much as I can before tightening with my fingers. Because if I don't pin it, then whenever I tighten it, they start to like wiggle up. It's like, no, stay in your spot. There's 1 and 2. 1 and 2. More glorious traffic noises. And 2 and 1 and 2. Now, especially whenever it starts to get down and tight like this, we're getting pretty close to the end, but you don't want to rush it. Just because you're right here at the finish line for the bail doesn't mean you want to start letting it splay apart. Okay, but I am actually going to take them and put them more side to side. 1 and 2. And 1 and 2. Now, I've demonstrated this technique in other videos, but this could be your first time seeing me, in which case, hello, I'm from the internet. And so I don't want to presume anything, but, you know, be patient with me, be patient with yourself, we've got this. Okay, so you can see here, they've come, my ends are now meeting back together. I'm going to do a couple more rotations of this. And you can see I've come down a ways on this side. So I'm going to come down a ways on the other side. So I'm going to do one more double rotation. There's 1 and 2. And now on this side I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And something that I like to do also is you can come through and push this in. I'm just pushing it in with my thumbnail to give it a very scooped effect. It pulls everything nice and tight and even. And what this shaping will accomplish is now whenever we take this, and I'm just going to brace the front side with my thumb, and we bend it around our bail. Do you see that nice like dip that it gave us? Okay, so yeah, just shaping that around. And I'm actually going to take my bent nose pliers and give it a little bit more of a secure, like, getting them nice and tight together. And I'm going to remove the bail, or the mandrel, sorry. And you can see how that's coming out. Super tight and cool. I love it. And now I've got my wires exiting on different sides too. Let me get that straightened out. So both of those are exiting towards the center. So what I want to do is this one, I want to pull them apart just a little bit more. And I think I'm going to zoom out some. That way I'm not wandering off camera nearly so much. This one is exiting from the center of this side. So I'm actually going to hook it around over here. And this one is exiting from the center on this side. So I'm actually going to have it come around to the other side. So while we were weaving these two sides together, now we're going to switch planes, and this half's going to get woven together, and this half's going to get woven together. And you don't have to do it that way. This is just how I feel like doing it right now. So that's how I'm demonstrating. Okay. So now we get to decide what weaves we want to do. So I actually think on this side I have a lot more wire, because this is the wire that I was wrapping the bail with. This wire I still have a full arm span of, so it gives me a lot more material to work with. So on this side I'm going to do some interesting like expansions and stuff. So I'm coming around from the back side, and now I'm going to come around and I'm going to continue this figure 8 weave. 1, 2, and I'm going to bend these off to the side just a little bit more. Bend these off to the side a little bit more. Give myself some more working space. And then, yeah, so it exited. Zoom right on back in. It's exiting and getting tangled right there. So I'm going to wrap around, keeping everything nice and snug. So there's 1, 2, and I'm going to do like maybe 5 repetitions of this. So here's 2, 2, 2, 2, here's 3, 2, 3, 2, and 4th rotation, 1 and 2, and 4th rotation, 1 and 2, and here's our 5th rotation, 1, 2, and 1, 2. So now you can see how that's coming out kind of nice. I like it. Nice and even. And you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 2. And so now from here, because that gives us a little bit that I'll be able to like shape it around to the front before the pattern starts to happen. So now I'm going to open this up just a little bit more. And I'm going to come around and do 1, 2, 3 rotations. And I'm going to go 1, 2, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 rotations. And I'm going to go 1, 2, now 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go 1, 2. And I'm thinking that before I go too much further on this side, I want to go ahead and get this side woven up. That way I can start sculpting everything simultaneously, to let it kind of grow and evolve and happen. So again, this side, let's check it out. It's exiting, oh, right off camera, sorry. It's exiting the middle out this way, but I want to do a different pattern, and this one's going to be, it's another super basic like wire weaving, but instead of wrapping around one, I'm going to wrap around 2. So there's the 2 wires, so I'm going to go wrap around both and then wrap around both. So that's how it looks. And now I'm going to hook this one 5 rotations. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm really using my fingernail to like cram it in there nice and tight. And then again, just pushing it down. So there's 2 rotations around both, and then 5 rotations around one. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, just like that. I can get the, yeah, there we go. And I want these guys to stay nice and close to each other the whole time. So to do that, you can see I have my ends offset. I'm going to have it zoomed out a bit so you see how I move around my end wires. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then 1, 2, pushing it down. Now here's 1, 2, 3. So I'm bringing it down and in between and then back. 3. So here you can see I've gone ahead and finished weaving with the rest of the wire that I had on this side, and now I'm going to come through and I'm going to continue on this side with this kind of curvy gradient thing that's happening. We need to establish which side I want to be the front, and I think I like this side better. So now also I think I'm going to have this side be the front on the what's it called? Quartz crystal. That's right, folks. That's a literal derp. Okay, so I'm taking this and I'm actually twisting it front ways. And I'm going to start this kind of coiling happening. Oops. Sorry, don't mean to go off camera. Let me see if I can't knock that up a bit. I'm going to keep this widening happening too. And so how many rotations of the 3 have we done? So it went from 2 to 1, 2, 3. So there's 2 and then 3 segments. So I'm going to do 5 segments of the 3 rotations. So there's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to keep this widening out. Like I want a really nice gradual expansion. And then 1, 2, Now here's our 5th rotation of 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now another rotation of 2 on the other side. 1, 2. So now I believe I'm going to do, excuse me, a rotation of 4. And I'm deepening this spiral, again, just a little bit more. Now that we've got some material on there, I can start sculpting the wires around to where they're going to end up being. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2. So you can see how that's starting to happen. Now I really want this as nice and tight over to the center as I can get it. So I'm just deepening that spiral around quite a bit. So I mean, it's not quite completely centered underneath the center line of the bail, but it's pretty close. So there's 1, 2. And I'm just using what's there in my thumbnail to kind of press that up into a nice curve, and to press this up into a nice curve, again, so that they kind of splay out that way. So now I'm going to flip it. It's a little easier for me to work from this angle. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then figure 8ing it down to the other bar, and it's 1, 2, and now 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to bring it right back down to 1 and 2. I've lost track of how many repetitions of 4 that was. But as it swings around, you can see, and it's not completely as flat and nice as I would like it to be either. So I'm actually going to come in here and butt these down with my round nose or flat nose pliers, because I want a nice smooth edge here. Now you can see this is falling quite a bit more in the center line of our pendant, and let me dig out and see if I can't find a super cute little bead. What color might I want? And I think I'm actually just going to go keep with the copper theme. Here I have a 4mm copper bead that I literally found on the floor earlier today. Hashtag crafter life. Sorry. Get some water for my drink. And I'm just threading that down the bead so it lands right there. And I'm going to take this and thread it through the center here. Like, if you can kind of see where it's going, right through there. Because if there's any way that I can hide the fact that this bead has a hole in it and just make it look like, I don't know, wizardry, that's goals right there. So there we go. And it just tucks it in and makes it kind of look like it grew there. And now I'm going to wrap up, because now I've just got this wire sticking out the back side here. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to wrap up from behind, like that. So that's the one that I just added. Sounds like one of the neighbor's kids is learning to play the trumpet. Or someone's sawing through something. I don't know. Either way, good for them. And now I'm just going to continue wrapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm actually going to do 5 on this one. Sure, why not? 5. And then come around. And there's 1 and 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1 and 2. And now 1. Sorry guys, I know I keep saying the same thing, but that's just 4, 5. This is wire wrapping. Yay! Much fun. Now that can't be a trumpet. And now I'm actually going to reduce this little swoopy thing down. Eventually, I will start showing you how to get the crystal stuck in there here in a minute. So with them crossed like that, 1 and 2. And now we're gonna go, I'm gonna again flip it over to where it's a little easier for me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all, I just saw a hummingbird come and visit my rose. That was the coolest thing ever. Oh, come back, pretty hummingbird. Okay, sorry. Focus, Vaughn. We can do this. That made my day, though. Because they're so fast, little buggers. What a magical land I live in with honking trumpets, traffic noises, and hummingbirds. I'll take what I can get where I can get it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 5. And then again, I'm going to continue kind of easing this around our center here, our little bead that we added. So not too many more rotations now, it doesn't seem. So there's 1 and 2. In fact, I think this is going to be my last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2. So now instead of them being crossed, we're actually going to be able to put them side by side to each other. And then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, just keeping it nice and snug and tight. 1, 2, making sure you're wrapping around the correct core wire. 1, 2, 1, what on earth is that? 2, and also you can see I have one shorter than the other. This kind of just happened that way, but it definitely lets me keep track of, okay, hooking around the short one this time. And then whenever I'm coming around, it's like, okay, hooking around the tall one. 1, 2, okay, one more. 1, 2, there we go. So you can see how it's kind of coming off to that shape, and this is the back side. This is the front side. It's much prettier. Though I don't know, I'm pretty pleased with the back too. And so I'm going to keep that kind of compressed down, and we're going to twist, ooh, so pretty, around to the top there. And this is going to effectively cover quite a bit of what's going to be going on up here at the top, any empty space that we might have. I am going to take this before cinching it down the rest of the way, and I'm going to modify it out to a 1, 2 around both, and then I think just 3 around one, actually. There's 1, 2, 3. That way it's just a slightly different density. 1, 2, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 1, 2, there's 1, 2, 3. So that's how it's happening on the front side. And I think I like that difference in density. It shows off different parts of the silver. Or not silver, just the uncoiled copper. So now, how on earth, guys, are we gonna fit this quartz point in? So I'm using my fingernail, just bending this back, and I'd like to see it be positioned like this. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to nestle it up in here. And I'm going to take this and I'm folding it down the back as securely as I can. And then I'm going to holding it with my hands. You can see it's behaving kind of like a spine. And I want this bail to be lined. There we go. Keep that center line going. Right where this nub, this quartz piece, kind of bulging out the side there, I'm going to place my finger and using my fingernail kind of 90-degree bend, or not quite 90, but you get the idea. And then I'm going to actually just wrap around. Stay in place, you silly bugger. Wrap around like this, and I'm getting it wrapped around the side, and it just keeps wiggling loose, but be patient. The stones and stuff, they aren't going anywhere. You've got this. And then there's that. And this is technically holding it in place. It's keeping it from sliding down. So now, before making any calls, I'm just going to leave this like this, and we're going to continue sculpting this top piece. Because while it's not falling out this way, there's still quite a bit too much movement around this way. Okay, I think I'm going to get these out of the way, these base wires. A few more rotations of 2 around both, 3 around one, so I'm going to flip it around. Again, I just work better from this angle, I don't know why. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. This is how it's coming along. And then 1, 2, 3. And I'm just thinking, I have enough wire, I think, to coil down the length of this. And then I'm going to actually add in some wire on this side. So let me finish coiling this segment here, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to add in coil here, as well as I'm going to splice in a coil to this area. Now I'm going to have this coiled and this coiled when I come back, but I'm going to show you how to do the splicing in case you've never seen it before. So I'll meet y'all right back here in just a... Well, for y'all it's instantaneous, but for me it's going to be in a little bit. So I'll see you in a sec. You wouldn't believe it, but I changed my mind. I've decided not to cover this wire here in wire. I decided I wanted to leave it bare to kind of play off the accenting little bit of naked wire that's off camera that's right here. Give us a little bit of contrast. And so to splice in over here, I'm working off the spool because I don't know how much I'm going to need, and what I mean by that is I have not clipped my 26 gauge wire from the spool. And in cases like this, having one of these little plastic protectors is very, very nice. Usually they come on spool when you're ordering from Parawire. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to use my fingernail to kind of grip and pull. See how that kind of opened that up a little bit? And so now you can see it was wrapping, there's the end, so it was coming around this way. So I'm going to pin my wire with a little bit of tail. I hate to waste wire, but I mean a couple of centimeters isn't going to be the end of the world. And I do save it just in case. One day I want to get into melting, like metal smithing, like melting it down and sculpting it into something else. And so I save all my little scrap wire for that. So you can see here, I'm lining it up in between the coils. Just like that. Be slow and steady and patient, because it's like if you miss one, it's going to stay sitting on top like that. But you want it just over one more, and then it'll just slip right in. But you can see on the underside here how that's kind of uneven. You just take your bent nose pliers and kind of smush it down. And if it doesn't, then it's likely you crossed somewhere and you'll just need to unwind and then keep bringing it around. There we go. Now it slid in there. Excellent. And so now that's spliced in. Now we can come back here to the tail that we kind of just had there to hold down. And I'm going to snip quite close to the coiling. And again, using my bent nose pliers, coming in and just cinching that down. And now I'm going to push that all down. Make sure there's no little nubbly parts sticking out. And now we can just keep coiling. I try to grip it pretty firm at first, just in case, because if you just keep, it'll just spiral it out of position. So you want to keep it snug for a little while. Trying to maneuver around all of these other wires, because as they're getting sculpted now, it's becoming more a case of I don't want to just bend them out of the way. And it's become a lot easier by just rotating the positioning of my piece. And I just want enough to be able to come around to the front side and have a little spiral. So maybe another centimeter, if that. Excuse me. Thank you, love. And you can see here, I'm actually positioning it, like winding my hand up, positioning, and then just twisting around. That totally does the same thing. And is a nice break for when one of your hands gets tired. Okay, I think that's where I'm going to stop it. So, snip. Using my bent nose pliers to just flatten it right on down. Now this wire I'm keeping bare, again, to play off of that difference. And it's going to come around, and I'm going to snip with about a centimeter past the crystal. definitely save this wire. You could use it for all sorts of different things. And I'm going to grab my, these are my regular round nose pliers. I'm going to grab my petite nose. If I can find them. There they are. Now again, there'll be a link for these down in the video description as well. And I super duper like these because you can see the difference in the tip size. Like these ones are super petite. And I like that. Again, very nice box hinge construction. And on the 18 gauge wire though, they do bend a little bit, but since they're box hinge, they're less likely to break. And so I'm just grabbing as close to the tip of the ply, and so you can see here there's a little bit of twisting out of line with each other, but it's not the end of the world. And I just want to twist this down nice and tight to the back side of the crystal. So this is still ending up covering a lot more of the crystal than I originally anticipated, but it's so pretty. So I don't mind it as much. And so now here on the front side, I'm just going to trim about 4 to 5 millimeters beyond where the coiling stops. Again, save these wires. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab it as close to the tip of the wire and as close to the tip of the pliers as I can. And I really like these petite tip because they let me get such a tiny little tight spiral going. Just like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off camera. And that gives us a nice contrast in texture and size. I'm gonna scooch this one over just a little bit more because I don't necessarily want it poking its little face, poking its little edge past. Okay, so from here, we're going to tuck this down kind of behind a little bit. Just behind the edge there. And I'm going to wrap this way. And again, this long bare one, I'm just going to come around. And I'm going to come up and go right through this gap right here. You can kind of see. Don't want my fingers to be in the way. Going to use my bent nose pliers to grab it and cinch it through nice and tight. And I'm going to spiral it down to sit on top of the quartz crystal right here. And this is another technique if you're having problems with the tips kind of going off track with each other, is just bend it farther up and then extend it down to the tips. Okay, smushing that down, all sciencey like, which is a joke because there's no, this is an art, not a science. And so from here, again, I'm going to, should I just continue this around to the back? Yes. Okay. So this is just going to spiral around like that. And now I'm going to grab it right here. And just contract this around real tight. Like that. And it's in a position where it's not really going to snag anything because it's right in line with that other piece. And so this is a way that you could set an undrilled quartz crystal in a way that is super duper secure and durable, thanks to that 18 gauge wire. It's definitely showcasing, I feel like, the wire wrapping more than the crystal itself, but it didn't use any kinds of glues or anything like that. It's just your own art and the crystal itself. And with the exclusion of this one line coming across there, I'm pretty pleased with how the back looks as well. But again, that keeps it from wiggling. I mean, there's a little bit of movement, but only when I force it. But that stabilizes us pretty nicely. And whenever it's sitting on your skin, I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. So there we are, guys. Hey y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during this Thanks for hanging out with me during this tutorial, y'all. This is not it at all really what I had in mind when I first started recording for this tutorial, but this is what happened. If the camera will focus on it. There you go. For like a split second. So there will be some pictures and stuff up on my Instagram and Facebook if you want to get a closer perspective. But if y'all enjoy these free tutorials that I do every day, and would like to support the creation of more of them, please check me out on Patreon. There'll be links down in the video description below where you can go and pledge as little as $1. And that helps so much, you guys. Like, I know that $1 is like, doesn't seem like much to you, but it adds up and it helps my dreams come true. Like, y'all have been so supportive and so encouraging. It's completely blown my mind and changed my life, and it allows me to keep teaching y'all, both here on YouTube and in person at conventions, how to make your art come into reality. So thank you guys so much. If you'd like to support my work and don't necessarily want to become a patron, please just keep enjoying my videos, like, share, and subscribe when and while you can. And tell your friends, because crafting is addicting, and it's a slippery slope of addiction, and I am an enabler. So thanks guys so much for everything. I'll see y'all around, and happy crafting. Bye.